Zekkens' alt account is rank 4 and his main account is rank 1. He's also ended rank 1 4 times in a row and in total 8 times. He's probably the best player in NA right now, so I decided to study his games to learn what makes him so good. Of course, let's keep in mind that he has pro level mechanics, so I focused on his decision making so we can learn something. His agent pool mainly is Raze and Jet with a hint of Sova. For the sake of this review, I decided to only look at his duelist games because I felt like that would be the most consistent patterns to look for. Let's start with his attack half. Zekken consistently makes simple pre-round plans on attack. He likes to call things like
What's a C split?
or
Can we all swing at the start again? We can maybe kill him when he jump spots.
if he's playing mid on split, he'll just ask.
Can we contact these guys we haven't?
He doesn't really even ask for utility. Maybe that's because he's playing duo queue with John QT, who's playing initiator for him. And, you know, he's in Radiant lobby, so maybe he doesn't have to ask for smokes. But I just thought it was really interesting that he doesn't really call anything complex. It's just always, yeah, let's go here or let's go here. The most complex strategy I saw him call was,
All right, we smoke bricks again and break the dart, and then we just go C.
can we smoke bricks and break dart and then go C on Haven? I was like, what? The important thing with this though is he does like to mid-round call what site he wants to go to.
Let's deny his knives here.
He's in my right.
We don't have to go. We don't have to go.
The bench is not.
You want to go back B? I can dash updraft. Can you smoke a C link?
Yeah, let's go ceiling.
Spike drop. Clear, close up.
Yeah.
Very simple mid-round calls as well, but I think because he actually does do the mid-round calls, he's able to get away with simple pre-round calls. And maybe a key takeaway here is just keep things simple, but you still have to vocalize your ideas. So next takeaway for his attack half was related to his duelist entries. In general, I noticed that he was really patient, but on attack half, he'll make sure that the utility can do its work.
Waiting on it.
He'll just play behind cover as Jet.
I'm gonna blind default on this one.
Fine.
And then if the Sova drone gets a tag or if the Skydog gets a bite, then he'll like to dash forward with his teammate's util. But he doesn't really force it is what I'm trying to say. Whereas like I know when I play Duelist, I'll be right behind the Skydog or right behind the Sova drone if I'm playing Jet just to try to get that insta kill and then maybe dash forward. But he takes a way more patient approach, and I think it helps because he's not expecting VCT level util usage and trades. He's valuing his own life a little bit longer. I noticed a little distinction, however, when he was playing Raze is that he was basically right on the tail of Skydog. It could be a map specific thing as well, but I was thinking with Raze it might be a little bit harder to capitalize off of util like that because the satchel has a little bit more of a delay than if you already activated your dash. To basically summarize this point, he values his life, so he doesn't really force anything that feels unfavorable, and he'll let the utility do the work before he runs into the site or dashes into site. Next thing for his attack is he really loves his contact plays to the point where he'll walk up into the space instead of util dumping. I thought that this was interesting because at least when I play Raze, I like to use my Boomba, I like to use my nade for early map control. He doesn't follow this really ever. If he's playing bind, he'll like to shift walk contact showers. If he's playing to go take hookah, he'll also shift walk and take hookah. This also applied on his Jet games when he would just walk up and take a fight somewhere. So I think he's just really confident with taking dry duels. I do want to note because he contacted some duels, he would just die for free. But on the majority of the time he did contact, he either gained free space, got a pick, or is able to save util for the execute. This one was probably the most startling discovery for myself because I love to use utility and kind of rely on my util for taking a duel. I don't really like taking dry fights to the point where I would even jump peek sometimes. And I guess what this reinforced for me is that you should trust your mechanics, you should trust your peeking, and you should take duels to take space, and that's okay, especially if they don't have op money. What I noticed with playing Raze in particular is if I were to use my util really early on to take map control, and I was playing against a Cypher or a Killjoy, and I used my nade already, I couldn't use my nade to break util, like break the trips or break the turret or the alarm bot. So I think Zekkens' kind of play style or tendency to save util and just contact into space allows him to use that extra util when he's going for the execute, and that tends to convert a little bit more. I also imagine if in Radiant people aren't really contesting A main and B main as much as I would think, then you could probably get away with it even more so in low elo to save your util and just contact and walk up into the space. Of course, if they have op money, you're probably better off using util, but this is kind of just thinking with rifle to rifle or if you know the ops playing a different site. The final point on his attack half is that he has very disciplined post plants and will rarely ever overheat. I noticed this first on a Jet game on Haven where they planted the bomb C long and he just went all off site with his teammates to play spam. He would make the decision if his teammates were playing insight to kind of hover around C long and not go all the way back, and then he would recommit to the site fight if he needed to, but he did not really push smokes to go into their spawn and go for kind of hero plays or clip plays like that at all. I thought this was very interesting because when I watch other duelist players like Jing or something, or even Forsaken, they tend to overheat a lot. Like they like to go for the early initial entry pick and then they'll push a smoke and go for a second pick, things like that. But Zekken is super disciplined, and this goes back to him valuing his life. He does not like to die, it seems. So in the post plant, he just tries to bait his teammates a little bit or allow for your teammates' contact and util and things like that. Now moving on to his defense half. So this first point is kind of known, at least if you review pro VODs a lot, where duelists will kind of go for this fast rotate playstyle. For those of you that aren't familiar, it's kind of like where you play a position that's a little bit centered in the map, so you can rotate between the sites quicker than if you're playing on a far extremity. What's kind of unique about Zekken on this one though is sometimes he'll even knife out in spawn to achieve this, or he'll just be sitting like in a rotating position with his knife out just staring at minimap. And maybe even more unique to this, at least on his Raze games, he did not go for early duels off of barrier once, at least not one I saw from the games he played. This is a huge difference with his Raze gameplay compared to Jing, where Jing would try to go for early duels or use his nade to cancel Skydog, especially on bind. And Jing in general just likes to fight space a lot more. Like on bind, for example, he'll fight 8 short, or he'll fight showers, or he'll jump peek and fight hookah.
No.
I saw none of that on Zekken's gameplay. He just played behind tank. He would rotate to B if he needed to, or if he was on B, he would just play top B site just so he could rotate faster. And maybe even more surprising, at least for me, with the fast rotate playstyle, is it's meant to flood the site, basically just running through a smoke to help your teammates on site. And I found a few times where Zekken wasn't doing that. He would throw his util and then he would reposition somewhere else. Like if he was rotating to B, he would throw his nade and reposition to elbow. Of course, he got mollied off in this instance, but he could have tanked a little bit of damage and ran onto side to help his teammate. So I think this goes back to he doesn't really want to take high risk plays. He trusts his mechanics, so he'll stay alive and he's okay with taking the dry fights later. Of course, this isn't always true. He will take openings when he sees them, right? But if he doesn't see like a high percentage opening and it's kind of high risk, he'd rather just play it slow and then trust his peaks. So point 2 is he doesn't really like to contest early space or look for an early duel. This of course relates very closely to his fast rotate playstyle that we just previously discussed. I just wanted to highlight that the exception here is that when he plays Jet, he will sometimes go for the early peak, like A short Haven. I didn't see him op the games that I reviewed, so he didn't really go for it too much. Maybe it's because he liked rifles. But I did want to highlight this again just because the early barrier duels I think are useful to do, and I think you guys should still be doing them in your games. It's just not something that we saw in Zekken's playstyle, and again, I think it's just because he's a little bit unique in that sense that he prefers doing the fast rotate every single time. And it works for him, but I think for the majority of players, including myself, it's kind of about finding that medium in the game, whether or not to go for an early duel or to kind of just play that rotate playstyle. I don't think you'll be able to get away with just doing one or the other in your games. Now I imagine if I reviewed more of Zekken games, like if I looked at a sample size of 20, I most likely would have seen a game where he was taking more aggressive duels off of barrier. But the games I reviewed was when he was pushing for rank 1 and rank 4 and he was playing maybe a little bit more disciplined and safer, and he just wanted to kind of value his life. That's pretty much the takeaways that I got from Zekken by reviewing him. If you guys want to try to implement this into your gameplay, it's that you can just keep things simple, especially with the attack half with your calls. You do want to be vocal about your ideas. Don't be afraid to contact into space and take dry duels, because more often times than not, you might just get the kill, or they won't actually be using util to fight you as well. And if you notice that you're feeling really good mechanically and you just want to stay alive to be in the clutch situation because you can't trust your teammates some games, it's okay to take less risk and just play with your teammates, essentially. I think that's kind of what Zekken's leveraging here. It's just less risk and more teammate coordination. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that pro review breakdown. If you guys want to see more of this, let me know in the comments, and I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.